Okay, so Ivan and I are here to tell you a story. He wants to get down. I'm going to show him the lion again. He loves this lion. Okay, so we're going to tell you a story, and it is about a kitty, so it's good that we have Ivan here to tell the story with you. Meow, meow, meow. Rah, rah, rah. Whoa, I guess it scared him. Anyway, we'll tell the story in just a second, so hang on. It's called Peppermint, and it's also a story from when I was a little girl, just like you. And it's illustrated by the author named Dorothy Grider, and it was published in 1966. Once there was a cat named Candy. She was called Candy because she lived in Mr. Dobby's candy store. One day Candy had 4 little kittens in her basket behind the stove. When Mr. Dobby saw the little kittens, he gave each one of them a candy name. The tan and white kitten he named Lollipop. The black and white one was called Chocolate Drop. And the tan one with the white face was Caramel. And there was little Peppermint, who was all white and very thin. Peppermint was very unhappy because she did not have beautiful spots and stripes like her brothers and sister. After school, when the children came to the store to buy candy, they said, "Oh," and "Ah." And when they saw Lollipop and Chocolate Drop, when they saw poor little Peppermint, they said, "Oh my, isn't that little one frail? Is she sick, Mr. Dobby?" He was much too busy to take care of so many pets. Candy was a great help in chasing the mice away, so she would stay at the store, but the kittens would have to find other homes. So Mr. Dobby put a big sign that said, "Kittens for sale for 15 cents." He put the sign in his window, and Mr. Dobby was a wise man. He knew how much little boys and girls liked candy, and he knew if they spent their candy money for a kitten, they would be kind and gentle. Lollipop was the first kitten to go. A little boy brought 15 pennies and he held tightly in the corner of his handkerchief. He was very happy to carry Lollipop home. A little girl in a red coat came next. She couldn't decide between Chocolate Drop and Caramel. Finally, she carried the black and white kitten away. Now only Candy and Caramel and Peppermint were left. Late the same afternoon a little boy and girl left their wagon at the door and came into the candy store. "We'd like a kitten, sir," the little boy said. In a few minutes, Caramel rode away in the wagon with her 2 new owners. That left Peppermint all alone with Candy and Mr. Dobby. Days went by, but no one offered to buy the little white kitten, so Mr. Dobby took the sign out of the store window. It was not many days before Peppermint's fur was dirty and gray because she spent so much of her time in the storeroom hiding behind the boxes and barrels. One afternoon the children rushed into the candy store. They were all excited as they told Mr. Dobby about the cat show that they were going to have at school. Caramel, Chocolate Drop, and Lollipop were all going to be there. Peppermint peeked out from behind a box. She heard the children talking and wished she could be in the cat show too. The children ran home to get their kittens ready, but one little girl in a worn-out sweater stayed behind. She was rubbing her eyes and looking very sad. "What's your name, little girl?" Mr. Dobby asked. "Barbara," said the little girl, between sobs. "What's the matter?" Mr. Dobby asked. He didn't like to see little boys and girls unhappy. I don't have a kitten," Barbara sobbed. "Dear me," said Mr. Dobby. He had grown very fond of Peppermint, but when he saw how unhappy Barbara was, he said, "You may have Peppermint." Barbara was too happy to speak. She picked up Peppermint and held her close. "Thank you, Mr. Dobby," she said, and she ran all the way home. Barbara's mother had been washing clothes, but she stopped to hear all about the cat show and Mr. Dobby and Peppermint. "We'll have to give Peppermint a bath," Barbara's mother said when she saw the soiled white cat. "She'll never win a prize looking like this." She took the dirty little kitten and put her in a tub of soapy water. Peppermint didn't like having a bath. She jumped out of the tub right into a pan of bluing. Bluing is the kind of thing that people used back in the olden days to make things look really white, I guess. It was like a blue dye. Anyway, Barbara started to cry. She knew Peppermint was ruined, but her mother caught up the kitten and wrapped her in a towel and put her in the sun to dry. The next morning, Barbara's mother tied a big pink ribbon around Peppermint's neck and put her in a basket so Barbara could carry her to school. When Barbara reached school, all the other little boys and girls were proudly holding their kittens, and they wondered what Barbara had in her basket. It's Kitten Show. One by one, the children took their kittens up to the front of the room. Finally, it was Barbara's turn. Carefully, she took Peppermint from the basket and held her out for all the children to see. How surprised they were! Peppermint was no longer a soiled white kitten. She was a beautiful, fluffy blue kitten with a pink bow around her neck. "Oh," said some of the children. "She's beautiful," said others. "She should have first prize," said someone else. So Peppermint did win first prize at the cat show, and she was the happiest kitten in the schoolroom, and Barbara was the very happiest little girl. Did you like that story? It was one of my favorites when I was a little girl. Good night. I love you. See you later.